Hey, folks, how we doing? Good to be back. See, we've got quite several people in chat already. Gert, good to see you. Draft Snack, Commander Root, everybody else. We're gonna play some Lord of the Rings 5e, and
Did you say Commander Root?
Commander Root is one of our
Is that
full faithfuls.
a Artemis Fowl reference?
You're probably right. Yep, yep.
That's
I have
cool.
an
Sorry.
echo.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Hey, good. I have an echo. Oh, hang on. How about now, Girk? Am I good? Am I peachy? I think I fixed it. So, we'll find out. Appreciate you calling it so fast. That makes life easy. Yeah. So we're gonna go back in, and we're gonna make some big decisions tonight, and go to a cool destination one way or another. Before we do though, Mr. Francis, Zach Francis, is back from his own journeys in Middle Earth, and uh, uh, you missed. Let's see. I think you only missed one session.
He missed two. He
Two.
missed the 7th of December and the 14th.
Okay, fair enough.
So the two
Yes.
uh
Oh yeah,
uh
because we did those two like back-to-back sessions. Yes.
he missed the two Akaban.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
So do you want to recap,
Uh,
Uh,
or did you bring him up to speed already?
I haven't brought him up to speed.
Um Zach Francis, I think that in kind of a efficient way of telling you all this, we went to Abercon.
okay.
We um we met with the Golden King in the afternoon. We gave a gift of wine. We offered trade. We gave information. He seemed really to perk up about the value of possibly commerce with the dwarves and the elves through us. He
Didn't know they
really
existed.
he didn't even know they really well. I think for him, it was like fable, fairy tale.
Yeah.
And he took great interest. Remember when we fought the troll that you prodded and provoked? I had the elven spear, Angalar, and he was very taken with that type of craft work. Um, but we didn't do well in our roles in that parlay initially, so he dismissed us for an overnight. And here I'll get a little bit more detailed. Uh, in the overnight, um, I used Silmarin's Augury of Stars to prompt a dream. And this dream was really evocative and moving. It was about being in desert dunes, atop the dunes, seeing a sea of torchlight amongst the rises and the falls, starting to hear a current of noise. The sand starts to fall down from the dunes. I'm in a swirl. The dunes are an enormous viper under the sand. Torchlight is actually the glistening orange and red scales of the snake. The viper reveals itself and starts moving quickly. And I look up at the stars and see the constellations with which I'm familiar, and the serpent is moving faster than a horse towards north, towards Gondor. And I tried to call out and I tried to have a conversation, and that didn't necessarily go well. But I ended up where we woke up, we went, had an immediate audience, and the Golden King had a dream too. And he really felt that he was in resplendent attire of gold and white, a full coven of viziers around him. He says, I could not sleep last night. It is not a matter of chance you came here. There is a great purpose to your arrival. And as we're talking to him, we realize that his throne faces north and that he yearned for the White City and that he's prepared an army. And he kind of kept back. It was just a theme throughout both conversations with him that you're kingless and I'm the king you're looking for. And so we had to talk him off this ledge of wanting to have us as his heralds take him back to Gondor and proclaim him king of a unified kingdom. Zachariah used speechcraft to pull off one of the best indirect attempts at intimidation I've ever seen in gameplay, because
It was
instead of
fun.
trying to intimidate, him intimidate the Golden King, which wouldn't have gone well. What he did is he had this incredible reckoning of the perils of Sauron and the idea of like, just, you shouldn't entreat with them. Like this is like you should be on edge. Da, da, da. And in fact, the Golden King said that the sorcerer's agents had visited recently, but that they had not signed any treaty yet. And that he talked about how mystery, darkness, and danger is to the lands south and east. Crithiel did an extraordinary insight check, and it came down to me doing a performance check, which I succeeded. And the result of it is that we got free passage to leave. We got a scroll of recognition that you have passed through these lands, and we have let you. So it was more about them having a beneficent mercy towards us than any agreement or friendship or alliance or pact. But we also gained him as a patron. So
he's in your journal, Zach. Just as a quick note, he's in your journal under Abercon, the Golden King, and you'll be able to look and see all of his patron features.
Yep. So cool. And if you remember, just mechanically, one of the cool things that Zach introduced into this campaign is that you can have more than one patron at a time. So we've actually accumulated, obviously, Thilian is our patron from Gondor. If you remember, Lord Minadril II is a patron, and he gives us a benefit if we're in a hex that has a waterway, river, what have you. We have Sire Graf's patronage, but now we have the Golden Kings. And so it is called Awe of the Gleaming Throne. When you are in a hex that contains a city, you can spend a fellowship point to force a creature you see to re-roll a d20 test. So we've actually packed away some good fellowship points, and even though we've spent 3, we still have 4 or 5.
Nice.
I have to check the final numbers again, but
now we're doing well.
Now,
and I'm not dead, so
you're not dead.
Great.
And here's the thing, Zach. So perfect, Ulysses. That's a great recap. And I'll segue. You may also have notes on this, but I'll segue from your recap into where we are right now. So you've got leave of the city. You're gonna head out of Abercon, and you really have 2. I think Brian would maybe suggest that you have 3 paths that lay before you. You can go straight west, just beeline it west to Umbar. Actually, let me just share a window here. Let's see here. Here we go. So you could just make a beeline west and go straight from Abercon to Umbar. That is entirely reasonable.
Okay.
You could also, and this is, I think, Ulysses' strong desire, that you take another detour and you go down to the Karna ruins down here in this forest, which I have promised them, and the Golden King promised them. There is nothing but danger there, and mystery. So there is not a patron for you there in every word I can say. But if you want to go there and have trouble, that's great. Peach Keen, you'll learn something. And then I think Brian's suggestion was that instead of going straight across to Umbar on foot or on horse, that you take an army of Mumakil and Haradrim and you raid Umbar with an army from the east as Thorongil sails in from the coast. So
it was almost a throwaway at the end of last session, but as we were getting ready to leave Harmenden, it was basically, look, I recalled him being, he's our patron, I recalled it going slightly better than Ulysses. So I thought that, you know what, he's got an army. He is not hostile to us. He would be interested in he's interested in protecting against Sauron, and he knows the danger. And you know what, he would love to own all of that. And why not take over Selantir? And so if we had no resistance in Selantir, then that's a possibility there. So that was my thought, that we just say, hey, by the way, we do have some folks coming in. Even if we don't fight, having two armies at our back could be an interesting way to wrap things up for the campaign.
Yeah. So
that's a crazy town interpretation of how our audience ended.
I remember none of that. Like him saying, "Hey, take my army and lead it." Random people who showed up here.
Listen,
and barely getting out alive.
I think what Brian recognized, and I will commend you for this, Brian, because I think you're right in this insight. I think what you realize is that the Golden King is interested in a power play.
Yeah.
And his idea was go claim the throne of Gondor, but I think Brian, your insight into it probably wouldn't be the most difficult challenge in the world to turn his eye, at least momentarily, west for some acquisition first. Isn't outside the realm of possibility. However, it would definitely be an undertaking, and it definitely changes the parameters of your visit. But we decided, Zach, to hold off on deciding on the route until you were here, and we could have Garwin aiding in this decision.
So,
okay.
And may I just add one thing? Is you laid out 3 alternatives. What I would throw out as an option would be, and if I may draw, see. If I may draw, I would recommend this is our route, is we go and then we follow these hexes so we get a glimpse of the Cursed Land and the Carnal ruins, and then we stay along the river, and then this will minimize, and we can go through these 2 squares to avoid that 2 up there. Right, because that 2 indicates it's a particularly dangerous hex. So we would be mostly in lands that are neutral to friendly to us. We'd have 2 hexes of red, but we would be along a river, so we'd have the benefit of I think that's Lord Minadril's boon to us from patronage, and then we go into Umbar from the southeast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as we gather our belongings and get our horses ready for the march, and I think you made it clear, Zach, that as we Abercon itself is in a yellow hex. That crossroad that Silmarin's token for the party, the fellowship, is in, you actually intuited that because of the patronage, because of the send off, we'd be fine going through that hex.
Yep.
So
first hex is free.
Yep.
Okay. So you want my opinion here now? Is that the thing?
Yes.
I actually really like that plan. I think Garwin would not want to unnecessarily put the group into more danger than necessary, because he would want to complete his goal. That would be like his, like he wants to complete and be successful in his mission here, because it's important to him for that to be the case. So I would say, it would be cool to go to the ruins, not necessary for this mission. I think I like the idea of maybe going by there just to see what's going on and then still following the river all the way down. I think that to me is probably a really good option. I don't think it's bad necessarily either to have the Muakil if you wanted to have that, but that seems kind of aggressive right off the bat. And I don't necessarily want to. It's hard to be stealthy when you have giant elephants running towards you. And so I'm not sure that that would be probably the best option to have. It might be good to have like further back, hey, don't come until we call you type of deal. But I think this plan of kind of staying out of the red, just following the river down into Umbar, I think that's going to be, I like that plan. I think that's going to get us to our goal the safest route.
Okay.
That's just me personally. Or we just take a helicopter straight to Umbar, you know.
That's right. So I get the sense, like, I think that Ulysses was the only person that was super gung ho about the ruins, actually going to the ruins, and now you're proposing a non-ruin plan. So I don't know that anybody's gonna have a strong fight there. Brian, is that you drawing in blue up at the top?
Yeah, just a pincher move there. Yeah. Just a thought. Zechariah is Zechariah's thoughts, and this is just a refresher, especially for Zach. Zechariah is one, not fond of fighting himself when fighting on his own or with a small group of people when the odds are against them. Not his thing. Also views the entire quest as a pretense that we're putting ourselves out on the line and that we're doing all of this against crazy odds when it doesn't really matter because Aragorn and whatever his alias is coming in anyways. We're not supposed to be giving up land and fealty and anything from Minas Tirith, and yet we're supposed to treat with all of these people. It's almost so that we can save face when we go beat the tar out of them. And I don't even know that that's a foregone conclusion that we could. And so that's where Zechariah is interested in changing the odds if possible. He's a talker, not a fighter. And so if there's ways to talk, to even the odds by doubling up armies, cool. If there's even better ways to avoid fighting altogether because there's an army coming by sea and one by land as well, then he's all about that opportunity. And if people want to go to the ruins, then he's okay going to the ruins with elephants at his back, but not without. And he is fine with lying to the Golden King about why we would go to the ruins. For instance, dear Golden King, thank you so much for all of your hospitality. I just wanted to know if we had your leave to search for the treasure. And he goes, what treasure? Oh, the treasure we'd split halfway. And there's no treasure. All about anything like that, as long as he doesn't get shot. That's the main thing. He doesn't want to get shot or stabbed. So yeah, so that's his motivations. That's how Zechariah works. So,
Awesome.
anyways, so yeah, that's that. It was kind of a lark, the idea of asking for an army and promising him Selentir, but hey, it doesn't hurt us to have him in charge there and us not having to worry about Selentir being on our bad side. If we've got somebody on our good side, may as well just multiply that. So that's where he's coming from.
Crithael, I see you have also drawn a line, so
Yeah, we have survived so far just barely by our utmost efforts and some fortune, I would say, to go towards what we know to be danger and death, and which brings us no closer to our destination and brings us farther away from safety, seems like folly to me. We should go across by the straightest way possible. Why we would go away from Umbar rather than towards it, I don't know. And, we should follow the river as much as we can. So that's why my line goes through it. I assume that we have to be in the hexes with the river to get the river benefit.
That's right.
So essentially, go as straight as we can, and then detour by one hex so that we get 5 hexes of river. And
yeah, I agree. I agree with you. The only difference that I would have is if if Zechariah felt that there was a very good lore reason, and by lore reason I mean we can find out more about Sauron. We can find an amazing weapon that could help us against Sauron. We could, not even just intellectual curiosity would get him into those ruins. But if there was some compelling thing, but I already rolled for that a session or two ago and didn't really find anything that helpful that I knew could possibly be in there. So unless I have some sudden revelation there, I don't think he would want to be. I feel like that's a pretty safe route there, as Crypto says.
And once we complete our mission in Umbar, if we as a company feel that there's benefit to exploration, or we learn that there indeed is something to be gained there, nothing stops us from proceeding there. But our mission should come first.
As you know, Solmarian always listens very closely to what Crithiel says. And as she's hearing you say that, she's inclined to follow. But a flare of curiosity makes her turn to Zechariah and say, Zechariah, once again, could you tap into that deep lore knowledge you have? What were the Karnal ruins in days of yore, when, if not Gondor, Numenor ruled these lands?
So, what I told you, I think before, was that during the time that Gondor controlled this area heavily, Karna was like the pseudo-official capital of Harad. Now, why it is now a ruin, and the Harad have moved their capital to Abrakan. They haven't talked about that, and they may not talk. Like they indicated that there might be some mystery there.
Oh, so that is not a Gondorian Numenorian ruin; it's a Haradim ruin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It would have been a big city of Gondor, but that would have been about 1,000 years ago plus.
History runs deep here.
Yeah.
All right.
This is probably
Chris-
as good a time as any for me to interject, since you asked about dates and times and things. So I'm gonna give you a very short version, but I think it's super important when you make this check to know what you're walking into. Let's talk about briefly, Zachariah. This is probably information that would come from you. You would have this detail. So I'm gonna give this for free because I'm doing an overview, right? But if even though I'm saying it, imagine that it's coming from Brian.
I've got a
Is that correct?
+7, so you can let me show off if you want. But
Listen, if you have
I
something
might
you
roll
want to,
I might roll 1.
if you want to scratch in at any of these and get more info, you're welcome to roll. This is what you get for free.
Okay.
So let's just talk for a moment about the situation at hand. This area that you're about to head towards, the coastal area around Umbar, in the 1800s of the Second Age. So if you think about it, you're like you're about 3,000 years into the Third Age, and you're about 1,600 years left to go in the Second Age. So you've got about 4,600 years ago, almost 5,000 years ago, the first of the Numenorians set foot on this land and started exploring, and started meeting the younger races of men that were there. 400 years later, almost 500, they build several fortresses in this area. Probably Karna is one of them, but the biggest one and the one furthest north is Umbar. So Umbar is built by the Numenorians as like their northernmost stronghold in Middle Earth when they're living in Numenor, right?
Mhm.
Then, in the 3200s, so a couple hundred years before the last alliance, Ar-Pharazôn, the king of Numenor, after his failed attempt to go, west to the Undying Lands, instead comes east, makes landfall, wars against Sauron, and he has as his base of operations Umbar, and he actually accepts the surrender of Sauron here around Umbar, right? Again, Umbar is it's not Minas Tirith, it's not Pelargir, it's not any place like that. It's Umbar that is the central city for Numenor on Middle Earth, right?
May I just add one gloss?
Yes.
I think Tolkien does a magisterial job in the Silmarillion of saying how when they first go to the coast of Middle Earth, they're beneficent, they're enlightened, and they're seeking to help uplift the indigenous humans. But that over time, they shift from beneficent, enlightened to overbearing, overlording, and conquest.
It's this
And
it's this weird idea that like the men learn a lot. Numenor learns a lot from the elves, and the elves welcome them in and teach them and accept them. But Numenor is not willing to do that in the same way to the lesser races of men that they interact. They don't share. They don't share what they got. And yeah, absolutely. They see a lot of at this point in time. They see a lot of the races of men that are here as like almost beasts is the idea, and that's going to come into play really fast because 200 years after King Pharazôn is in Imbar, you have the Last Alliance happening, and even by that time, Umbar is straying towards Sauron, and there's individuals from that. You've got Isildur and his brother and his father are up towards the north. They're building Minas Tirith. They're going nuts up there, and you have this Umbar kind of being left to its own devices starts to stray, and in fact, um, um, it is lost right at the end of the Third Age and becomes like a city of the enemy. 1,000 years later, Third Age rolls around. Third Age, around 900, Third Age. Gondor's king at that point repairs Pelargir and retakes Umbar. So if you're counting, this is now, we've already swapped hands a couple of times with Gondor and different people owning this city. Then, not 100 years later, Umbar's under siege by black Numenorians have recruited the Haradrim, and they come in and they lay siege to the city for 35 years, but Gondor holds strong and holds onto the city, right? So this city experienced a siege for 35 years at one point. Gondor holds on. Um, um, at the end of that siege, Gondor, as like a proclamation of its victory, erects this huge white pillar that has a crystal cap on the top of it to kind of designate Umbar as like this shining city of Gondor and as a reminder of Ar-Pharazôn's victory over Sauron, right? So you got like this cool monument there that's huge and super important, right? Um, and everything's hunky dory for 400 years. And then about 1450, right before that, you have so now we're still, keep in mind 1450, we're still 1500 years away from where you are now. But in 1450 we get the Ken Strife, which is basically the Gondorian Civil War, where the son, one of the princes, the heir apparent, goes and meets with Rohan and marries a Rohirrim woman, comes back. That is not acceptable because Gondorians, Numenorians have long lives because they keep their bloodlines intact. And by effectively going and marrying one of the lesser races, he's effectively short circuiting the whole Age of Kings. So there's a big uprising. One of his cousins, Castamir, goes to war with him. There's a lot of craziness that happens. We won't get into that. That's a huge, huge event in Gondor, though. Castamir, when his rebellion fails, he flees, and his sons flee to Umbar. And they kind of set up Umbar as their capital. 100 years later, Gondor comes back. They defeat Umbar and Harad, but they leave without fortifying anything or actually holding on to it. So pretty much the people of Umbar flow right back in. About 200 years later, they have to go do all of that again. Gondor sends another army. So now we're back and forth 5 times in the city. It's been swapped hands 5 times, maybe 6. And when this group comes in, they kill all of Castamir's descendants. So they wipe out the usurper's line. And then they hold on to it for only, again, for about 40 years. And then you have the War of the Wainwriters, and Umbar falls to the Haradrim, and they destroy the White Pillar. So this is number 6, and the first time that Haradrim have owned the Umbar. That's in 1856. Okay, so here's the note for you, and this is the last piece. It has been 1,000 years since that event. So this is a city that has gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Was once the shining beacon of Numenor here. Then for a bit was the shining beacon of Gondor. Then was like the counter city of Gondor to Minas Tirith in the north. And now it has been in the hands of the Haradrim and the remnants of the Black Numenorians for 1,000 years, and it's just been used as a raiding point against the north for forever. And all of the miscreants or people that get in trouble in Gondor, or people who tried to lay claim to the throne, people that have trouble with the stewards, all of the troublemakers in Gondor, of noble line, when they feel like they are unwelcome, they end up fleeing to Umbar. So you're about to walk into a city that is filled with people who have a long, storied, difficult history with you, with the steward, with Gondor, and depending on whether you're talking to a Haradrim or a Black Numenorian, there's a lot of context here that's really tricky to navigate. This is different, and I say all of that. I gave all of that because I wanted to point out that that is incredibly different than the history of Abrakan and the Harad, who have at most been like a colony sort of idea to Gondor, but have never been fully in the fold. They haven't had their lands raided nearly as much. It's a whole different story. So just wanted you guys to have that context that Abrakan is you're a stranger in a strange land. Here, you are the enemy that in Umbar, 100%.
And sorry, and you
I'm
did
just gonna clap real quick for the
Yeah.
giant
4 to
history
4.
lesson.
yeah.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. That was fun.
The
Yeah.
war dump was beautiful. Maybe we need to have not that it needed to be better, but having Dada Zach read it in his special video voice
Yeah.
would have been
We could listen,
like,
Zach. If you could
was
do
the
that.
echoing would have been lovely.
All right, look, give me the script. Give me about 15 minutes. I'll add some echo. I'll add some, fight sounds in the background and whatnot. We'll get it.
That's
I
right.
think the mistake might have been assuming that there's a script.
So-
Sorry, just a quick thing. And you did say that the ruins were Harad.
They
more
are
like
Yeah, back when Gondor was prominent here in Numenor, like that would have been like a trade like colony city of Harad, not part of Gondor proper, but kind of in the outlying territories.
so whatever we may find there would likely not be something that impresses the people of Umbar. It might impress the people of Abrakan, but people of Umbar where we're going.
That is accurate. Yeah, more likely to find relics of Harad, way less likely to find relics of Numenor, or Umbar or Gondor.
What's the point of us going down here? Zachariah and Brian are both going, this is dumb. They're not
Nixon
gonna
in
join
China.
us. We can-
Nixon going to China.
Yeah, you say that every session, but I don't see
Sometimes you have to do the counterintuitive move. I mean, we're now fully possessed. It's like, look, you're the scholar, but for, the rest of us, there's something coded in us as Gondorians that we understand the troubles with Umbar. So we have no pretense that it's going to be easy going in there. But that's hopefully to our diplomatic strength.
so that they send us tributes so that they don't attack us. There's ways of
We want a non-aggression pact. That's all we want.
Yeah.
We want a non-aggression pact so that we can focus our resources on the mounting crisis in the east.
Because attacking somebody at the point of a sword to get a non-aggression pact is definitely the way to go. Hey, you're not going to attack us. What do you do if I do?
Here's a good
I'll attack you.
Here's
I
a
don't know.
here's a good note because I kind of just skipped the last 1,000 years, and that's fine. We don't have to do a lot but here's what should be noted.
That's 1,000 years.
1,000 years ago, the fleet of Umbar under Numenorian control was massive, right? Massive, massive, massive. Because think about it, it's literally the navy of Numenor that escaped the wrath of the Valar, right? So it's this huge, incredible fleet, and Gondor had to rise and try to keep up with that, right? And that was a huge problem. The naval battles for the last 2,000 years have been the biggest thorn in Gondor's side. Naval battles have been such a big pain. They've had to spend so much resources throwing men and supplies onto boats to fight in the sea that they don't have a lot like that. That's been a huge thing. Now, the benefit, well, the reality is that now Sauron, the sorcerer, has risen in the east, and they're 100% going to have to turn their attention to that. So they really now are faced with this reality of Umbar has this massive fleet that we cannot ignore. Gondor and Mordor is building an army in the east, and we've got to get rid of one of those if we're going to have any chance. We don't want to be in our own pincer movement. So I think that Ecthelion and Thorongil are looking at this, and the reality is, you're looking at 2,000 plus years of back and forth with Umbar. The reality is that they know that Gondor can't hold Umbar at this point. You can't go take it by conquest as Gondor and hold it and be good. You've tried that, it's failed. So at this point, it's either non-aggression pact, or you burn their fleet and force them to spend a decade or 5 rebuilding it. Those are really the two goals. Unfortunately, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot by um, allowing all the miscreants and ne'er do wells to go to Umbar. It's going to be very difficult to get that non-aggression pact. So yeah, Brian, you're right. Like this is a fool's errand, almost hopeless. But you did. I mean, listen, you did. You do have a future where you join friends with a Balrog. So, never say never.
Um,
Yeah.
Can I just want to throw out a word. Magnanimous, high-mindedness. I think if we are Gondor, we are the Numenorian bloodline. We're the good side of humanity. We owe it to history and to the process to try to negotiate a peace with Umbar as opposed to just attacking them outright. And so, yes, it's not a high probability gambit, but it goes to the benefit of our character as Gondorians that we try.
I would also note, just as a, because I have a hard time keeping this in mind, so I don't know if you guys do or not, but one of the things to note is that we know as players that Aragorn is successful, obviously, but he goes there with a fleet that's like a tenth of the size. So when we talk about him sailing down and burning the ships, he's going on a suicide mission.
Dude,
his eyes.
spoilers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Listen, there.
I didn't know the size. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, so potentially maybe that'll help make our decision, right? What is the time frame for where Aragorn is currently with the boats, ships?
Yeah, he told you before you left that he would have agents in Umbar and that he would not attack the city without giving you forewarning. He's gonna hold off up until the point where, either you're detained or you're killed or you give the all clear.
He's gonna wait for us. And when Silmarion brings up words like magnanimous, Grethel will just sigh and say, "This is why they sent you. You are an idealist." It is you are the right person to lead this.
But Thorongil, what if I find just 50 good Gondorians in Umbar? But Thorongil, what if I find 40 good Gondorians in Umbar? Thank you, Zach, for laughing. I think I see Ulysses as well. I don't know everybody else's
I am well
biblical
pleased.
literacy.
Yeah.
It is this is a story of Lot, right?
Yes.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yep, I know. You had me when you went from 50 to 40. I was like, I know where this is going.
Yeah. But what if there's only 5 good Gondorians?
Yeah, if there's
We
five,
are the
then we'll-
5 good Gondorians.
Yeah.
Hey!
So as long as we're in the city.
Well, 4. Well,
crap.
3 and you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, right? It's the equivalent. I mean, it's probably not exactly, but it's the equivalent of like, the Union sending an emissary to go meet with General Lee in the South in the midst of the Civil War, not at the end, right? And saying, hey, how about we just like cool things off for a while? And
did that not happen?
I'm sure
I
it did.
mean,
I'm sure it did.
I imagine that's a thing that would have,
Yeah.
Maybe happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad because I visited the Museum of the American Civil War just last year when I went to Philadelphia, and it's a beautiful museum, and I remember nothing of what I saw there.
Well,
except I saw the first example of social media trolling, which I'll show you in a picture later. It's from like 200 years ago.
Nice. So hopefully I didn't compound issues of decision making, but at this point, do we feel I'm gonna start with I'm gonna go one by one. I'm gonna start with Zach. Zach, of the three routes that you see, um, or of the directions, what do you feel like is the most appropriate? What would
I
Garwin
mean, again, Garwin is very he's driven by pride, and not in a bad way, but like he prides himself on being able to complete missions and to do things right for Gondor and to do things for the glory of Gondor. And if it I think to him at this point there'd be no reason to go to the ruins really. Um because the mission that he wants to complete for Gondor would be to get to Umbar so that we can either, let's make some peace or kill some people or whatever, right? So um I think that he would be of the mind of like we need to get there in the most efficient way possible. If that happens to be going past the ruins, then great, but the most efficient and quickest and safest way possible to get there to complete the mission is the mission. So I think he would probably do the red line.
Okay.
Unless there was a mission critical reason to take an extra day and go down to this extra bit and then back up to the river. But I think he would probably say like we need to get to Umbar like as fast as possible.
Okay. Crithael, have you changed your mind from the red line?
I have not.
Okay. Ulysses, Silmarian, where
So,
are you feeling at this moment?
so as we talk about like the tactics of travel and exploration and scouting, I'll just say part of the reason I skirted in my line towards the ruins is I felt that we may find that a more peaceful corridor because people probably avoid the ruins.
The closer you are to danger, the further you away are from harm. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what Samarian says.
Okay.
All right. Brian.
But no, but I did say, Zach, to be fair,
Sure.
I did role play earlier. When Crithiel says what she says, Samarian takes her words very seriously. She agrees with her.
Okay.
So.
Zachariah, I think I think you can avoid the ruins by being on board for the red line. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, oh gosh, I just want to come up with some lateral thinking way to solve this problem of Umbar. I just can't see, I just don't see it working really well. And I even if there's some way that we could feign more power and intimidation, I just I don't think in a fair fight this is I don't think we win in a fair fight or in a fair negotiation. I think there's too much
to be fair.
to give up. There's too much to, and so I want to come up with some sneaky way. And we've got a patron in Harmenden, and I just want to try and pull the high check. I mean, I feel like nothing ventured, nothing gained. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Is I'm just terrified that we're just, outside of DM Fiat wanting a nice happy ending. I just can't see a good successful conclusion where we talk them out of it or anything like that. So that's why I'm still wanting to talk to Harmenden and say, even if it's to level with them and say we need to fight the fight, can you intimidate them for us? I don't know. That's the only thing. If you guys say no, let's just walk on in, then I'll walk on in. But yeah, I just feel like there's got to be something more that we can do. The hand we've got dealt sucks.
Zachariah, I'll remind you, they would have expected our mission to come right down the coast. The fact that we're coming from the east and from the south is going to give us an aura. It should be awe-inspiring. Like we're going to walk into that city resplendent in our full Gondorian regalia. We have magnificent weapons. We have your scholarly tomes. We're going to be sheer magnificence.
I'll
And
tell you the one thing I would want for I want a third banner.
Third banner.
We've got 2 banners.
Yeah.
If we came out there with a banner of Harmenden, not to march under, but if we walked in there with the banner of not Pelargir,
Yeah, Abercon. Is that what you're talking?
Abercon. Yeah, I was looking at the map. So yeah, if we came in there with and we walked up and we were flying 3 banners, and we claimed to speak for the danger of Sauron and the need to stop, and we claimed alliance, we claimed patrons, and we had 3 banners. I think that'd do it.
Would you like? I love this, Brian. I think this is a great idea. Or at least a great asset to have in your pocket. How would you, as Zachariah, how would Zachariah propose obtaining a banner? Would he go ask for one, or would he sick one of his party members on a you know a less forthright method of acquiring a banner?
I would ask the party. That's what I would do. I just know we need one. I'm not the tactician on that. Yeah, I would ask what you guys would do, but I would probably, if it were Zachariah would ask for one.
As we get ready to depart, it wouldn't surprise me if the vizier who greeted us when we approached Abercon was in the farewell party.
Yep.
And I'm more than happy as Silmarian to ask her and say, Vizier, it would be a tangible gesture of the Golden King's patronage and his giving us of this scroll of recognition if we could take with us a ceremonial banner of your people of Abercon.
Give me, I'm going to actually have a roll here. Give me a persuasion check, Ulysses.
Okay.
I have Juju. I don't remember what it is. I don't have the craft rules up in front of me, but I do have. I don't know if it's a reroll or an advantage.
Speechcraft, is that your?
Yeah, I believe so.
Funkiness.
I believe so.
Okay, cool. I'll pull that up here while you're.
Sorry, I knew you could get it faster than I could.
Yep, no problem. So if you want to, you could make it a contested check. And if it's successful, then you could basically force a contested roll. If it's successful, then she would just be basically obligated to give it to you as part of that speechcraft roll.
Can I do the persuasion check under that speechcraft, or is that Zachariah doing it?
I would let
you really want asking.
Yeah, I'm fine with you doing it, Ulysses, on this one. Since you're all there, since you all were very involved together in the negotiations here, it's okay. You're basically just using Brian's ability, but applied. Yep.
Okay, so this is a contested roll now.
Yep.
So it's what I roll against what she rolls.
That's right.
Okay. So here is my roll with persuasion, and it's terrible. I rolled a 9. But it's contested, and she.
And it is in a city.
You know what? Actually, are you guys okay if I spend a fellowship point to re-roll this before I find out what her roll is?
Yeah, I mean that's it's a reroll in the city because of the
Well, no,
because of our patronage, right?
well, no. The Golden King City thing is we make somebody else re-roll. The patronage of Ecphilion gives us a re-roll of a charisma check of any sort just by
Okay,
him.
that's good.
Either way, it's resource cost to us as a fellowship.
Yes.
You have to spend one of the points. But I believe in what you're trying to achieve here, that I want to spend it. And that gets me to a 15.
Okay.
Okay.
You roll here. That is a
Uh,
12.
But
Yeah.
one more.
You know what?
We're in the city.
You could spend another fellowship point, but you'd have to make her re-roll all the
Yes.
golden throne.
You know what? I think it's only fitting that, unless Kurthiel tells me no, I only think it's fitting that in Abercon we use the patronage of the Golden King to make his vizier re-roll.
I mean, I think thematically, you literally go. Sorry, I don't want to cut up Andrew, but it literally is. But seriously, the Golden King would think that this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally using his patronage to say, yeah, do this.
Okay.
How does remind me the patronage ability, like the awe of the gleaming throne?
Uh-huh.
How many times do we get that? Or do we get that if we spend a fellowship point?
Yes.
Yeah, you just spend a fellowship point to use it. Use as much as you want. Yep. As long as you have fellowship points.
So I would propose this, that to Silmarion's point, and what if Uzek count this as a success for us, and our cost is that we give up the use of that ability, that we can never use it again. There's no roll, but we basically cash in the Golden King's favor for this.
Because as soon as we leave, he finds out about it and he's pissed.
Well, don't help.
I mean, it could work. I gotta sweeten the deal.
Yeah,
for the
you know what?
DM.
I'll take you up on it. No questions asked. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Absolutely. You succeed. There's this moment where the request is made by Silmarion, and there's a stare down that lasts several beats too long between her and the king's vizier, and then the vizier reaches over and directs one of her guards. The guard moves over to a nearby building and just takes the rod that's holding a banner in along the spread of the building, just removes it from the wall, rolls up the banner into the rod, and then hands it to her. She, without saying a word, kind of still looking at Silmarion, takes the banner and proffers it to you, and she says, a strange parting gift. And one that's at odds with our initial greeting, should you recall.
Indeed.
Well, that's right, because we wouldn't put down ours, or we wouldn't give up ours. Yes.
I have come to believe in our brief visit to your immaculate city that it was not by chance we arrived and we leave. I hope that a reverberation of goodwill rings on into the future.
And And Krithil's gonna add, next thing you know, you're gonna tell us your name and wink.
No, you spent your points and you don't have any more to spend. She says, there will certainly be a reverberation. And then she turns and walks back through the gates of the city with her entourage. The gates close behind her. You see that there are still guards in the towers of the Golden City watching you. But you have your horses, you have your gear, your supplies are replenished, and you have your scroll, and you are and your banner, and you are ready to go. So we're ready to do a journey now. Before we do so, we're gonna get into some roles as you do some traveling, but we've played now for about an hour and a half almost. Would you guys like to take a quick break before we do our last hour and change?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So we'll
Grab some slippers. It's
we'll
cold.
take a 7-minute break and come back around 9:50 Central. So, all right,
Perfect.
Cool.
be right back. All right, we're back. Let me unmute before we go any further. All right, I think we're good to go. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to do the last leg of this session tonight. We have decided, I believe, to take the red line and head west to Umbar. Because we are taking the red line, we are going to be traveling through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yellow hexes, I believe, and some red hexes there at the end. So let's get you guys ready to do some traveling here. So for people who are watching at home, since we're playing in the Lord of the Rings 5e edition by Free League, we have rules for how travel works, and travel is pretty straightforward. So we're going to have somebody is going to need to make a travel check. Who would like to be our traveler?
Well, if you recall, being a princess of Belfalis, I have double proficiency in this type of travel check.
That's right. You're typically our traveler, our guide.
Right, just because normally, right, with a 14 wisdom, and we now, because we're 5th level, we get a +3. Normally, a travel check would be +5, but because it's whenever I travel via horse, it becomes a +8.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead and make a travel check for us, Ulysses. See how many hexes you guys get through. I'm gonna go ahead and delete our all of our fancy lines so that we can start drawing new ones.
Okay. So, after our consultation, after getting the banner, we will now embark, and this will be a D20 +8 roll.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a 23.
23 is fantastic. It's going to mean that you get to move 4 hexes. So, Andrew, you yell at me if I end up drawing this wrong since I deleted it. But I'm going to say that is 1, 2, 3, 4, right to here. Is that
in here? Yeah.
That fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, on 4 hexes away, you're going to have an event that's going to occur. So, let me roll a dice to determine who's going to be rolling for this first event here. That is going to be our hunter, which I believe is typically Brian Zachariah. Especially.
Yes, that is me. I'm the hunter.
Yes.
I haven't caught anything or shot anything, but I am the hunter.
I'm just gonna, just because we've run into some issues before, I will remind people that Crithael can do 2 things during one journey and has +10 to all of them.
Yes. But you have 4 people, so
yes,
and Zechariah has tried. Ish.
Yes.
Zechariah does not like losing face. It's kind of
what are your
pride.
What are your +10s again?
Anything that's wisdom.
How do you have a +10 to wisdom stuff? I'm just curious for the mechanic.
I have +4 from wisdom and double proficiency when in my warded lands.
Oh, in your warded lands.
Okay, so
awesome.
I'm going to determine the event by rolling a d20. Ooh, hey, Brian, this is a good thing. You're gonna
yeah, and wonderful.
You're Gandalf.
I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome.
Ooh, 19.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so this is going to be a chance meeting. So I need you, Brian, to give me a wisdom hunting check.
Okay. And that, okay, there we go. Wisdom hunting. I'm like, is that a normally wisdom? Okay, cool. Wisdom hunting, that is a +2. So I'm just going to do a straight roll +2. As soon as I find the dice. Okay. 10.
10. Okay. Cool. Cool. Um. Okay. Open terrain. Yeah. So that's a failure, but that's fine. So, so Brian, you're out on this hunting trip. I'm gonna rule a little bit. I'm gonna rule that your 10 is going to be a disappointment not to you but to your party here.
Okay. I love the contrast.
Um,
Go on.
So
Okay.
yeah, right. Like that.
Hey guys, I saw something cool and didn't shoot it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're out in the middle of the wilderness here. You're some distance away from your party, not unlike your scout was a few sessions back when he ran into a massive troll. But you've
Okay.
yeah, you've strayed a bit, and maybe your trepidation about Umbar is kind of like stuck in your mind, and you used the excuse of hunting to have some time to just be alone with your thoughts and to try to find that through line, right? That interesting, or that answer to how this could all be resolved, right? Um, Let me get some different music going on here. Let's see. Let's do this one. Why not? So you're pushing through a slightly wooded area here. Nothing too heavy, but there's a lot of like valleys and dips and dives. Nothing super, not as deep of mountains and valleys as what you were like around uh, um, around Harmenden, but same kind of flow. You can see, to give Ulysses a little wishful thinking here. You can see if you look far to the south, like through the gaps in the trees, you can see that far south, like the terrain kind of starts to descend, and you can see way off in the distance a way bigger forest. But here, it's just kind of light wooded area. And you're kind of in the distracted sense of your mind, and um, you look up and you notice that kind of all of a sudden, um, you've kind of tucked down into a valley and you are in the midst of fog, like a mist, um, kind of swirling all around you. And you can see this as you kind of like look up. You can see that there is this hawk, this big hawk, perched on one of the trees just in front of you, like just peering down at you in the mist here.
Hey, look, a hawk.
You you give a remark, and the hawk kind of like looks at you, like cocking its head like birds do, um, and uh, you hear a voice respond. And certainly you don't expect a hawk to speak, but it does sound like it's coming from the hawk, and it says, um, "Indeed, and a Gondorian, so far south."
You're
Would
speechless.
I have any would I have any knowledge of stories that are credible of talking birds? Or is this going to strike me as somebody's behind this hawk?
Uh,
Literally behind this hawk, not behind the hawk that talks.
yeah. Yeah. Let's say, like, off the gate without heavy research, nothing that doesn't. You don't recall any talking animals that don't come out of like fairy tales, like, you know, made up tales, not real ones. You don't recall anything credible.
Okay. I'm just gonna stand really still and watch the hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Because either he's going to fly away because he's a regular hawk, or he's going to talk to me again because he's a talking hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, I'm doing the right thing.
Sure, absolutely. You wait a few moments, and the voice says again, "Well, come now, lad. You know, there's two creatures in this valley, and only one of them should be doing the talking. What have you say to? What do you to say for yourself?"
So I'm standing there watching the hawk. Is the hawk's beak moving at the same
No,
rate that these words are? No.
no.
Okay. So I'm gonna call out to the falconer and say, yeah, one talker is fine. Talk all you like. And yeah, I'm Gondorian. I mean, it's on the tabard thing, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's the voice. The voice says, as if it's talking to someone else and not to you, though it uses the same tone, the same cadence, and it says, "Well, he certainly doesn't look harmful. He certainly looks innocent enough. Just strange."
Oh, yes. Yeah. Pretty much. I don't actually have anything against the hawk or you. I'm gonna try and address the direction from which the voice seems to go.
Give me a perception check as you kind of glance around here, Zachariah.
I will roll it first and then see what my perception is. Plus 2, 14.
14. So you glance around, and unfortunately with the mist, you don't catch sight of anybody else, though you're certain there must be someone here. And he says, well, if you won't tell me anything about yourself, perhaps you wouldn't
You didn't ask. You didn't actually ask me. I can tell you all about myself. I'd go ahead and interrupt him and you.
Yeah, he says, well, then do so. I'm curious.
Name's Zachariah. I'm a student and tutor, not quite professor so much. You could. I'm a scholar, and I'm Gardorian, and I was just searching for some food.
A scholar,
and,
you say? A scholar?
Yes.
This far south, a scholar this far south. Why, you must be after something important.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a good idea either, come to think of it, but they sent me, even though I am indeed a scholar and really not that good of a hunter. So just so you know, and I just kind of like I pull off the bow and I just go like, do I need to like set this down? Are we like doing dangerous things, or can I just carry it?
He says, you may do whatever you'd like with your weapon. You won't need it, I don't think.
Good. I'm a scholar.
Yeah, he says, you know, you scholars are hunters in their own right. And it's a good thing for a scholar to be out in the wilds. Nothing ever gets found in a library.
I'm a stranger, with all due candor, which is as much as I can give because I can't see you. Um, I truly, as a hunter, nothing gets found by me either. I just would like to go ahead and point that out. I'm just, I'm not that great at this.
It must be a twist of fate that here in the wilds of the south, two scholars have happened upon each other, and though I am short on time, I will spare a moment here. And you see now, like the mist doesn't fully leave, but like it's being like wind is kind of blowing it apart or drifting, shoving it to the side. It starts to clear in your immediate area, and you see somebody that looks like this.
Want to do it? So, pleasure to meet you. The yeah. So yeah, we're out here. Where are you from? Always pleasure to meet a scholar. What's your field?
I'm
Anything published? Anything published recently? Anything peer reviewed? The standard. What?
He says, well, that's an awful lot of questions. I'm from the west, and I have a keen interest in taking record and note of the comings and goings of men, and to be more clear than that, men outside um, the more noble sort, the more noble birth, the you know, um, not to put too fine a point on it, but the men that you haven't heard of are the men that fascinate me.
Ah, well, that's
And you,
definitely
perhaps.
puts a damper on sharing research because yeah, I haven't heard of them, and it's we different fields and all of that. I'm more interested in royal lineages of Gondor, the stewards, the
There's
history of great
he
men.
eh, he seems to have taken your cue of interruptions, and he returns in kind. He says, "You know that there is more nobility in this land than just those of Gondor. Gondor is one branch upon a great tree."
Well, yeah, we're not the only. Um, let's just say there's only one that we know of that seeks to be the only royalty, and he's not too keen. And I look northward,
Mm.
and I say, to the east, um, because clearly I don't know where north is, where east is. So, but yeah, of course, there's no nobility elsewhere. It's just not my main field of interest. But of course, I tried to when we headed south here. Of course, I tried to look up certain families, certain try and brush up on that just in case we ran across the right people or the wrong people, as it were.
Hmm. And who are the wrong kind of people in your eyes, young scholar?
Uh, yeah, gosh. I just I kind of do this. I don't know what I'm doing now. And I just start listing off several names of uh, rogue houses of Gondor that would have, fled to
Hmm.
Umbar.
Yeah.
Just disloyal, etc. I would just list several of those off. Um,
Well, we can
and
agree on this at least, because I have the same opinion of those particular folk. Um, And as I mentioned earlier, I'm short on time, but I'm glad to know that we share similar distaste for certain individuals. Um, I myself, and he seems to be deciding to give you something before he continues on. He says, I myself am heading east, um, and perhaps also to the south. I haven't quite made up my mind, but um, certainly to the east and um, certainly to the cities that lie there within. And he makes a motion, and you see him like lift up kind of his over cloak. You see him kind of part, and you see he has a pack and underneath it, and there's underneath in that pack you can see kind of strapped to it is several scrolls and a large book, similar to this type of thing that you carry. And he says, um, I've spent a good amount of time in the north and on the coast, and now I have deemed that it is time to gather the tales and stories and histories of other men and other places. But I find that you're going west towards the coast, towards Umbar, it would seem. Might I ask what a scholar from Gondor, from Minas Tirith, if I had to put my finger on it, is doing this far south alone and headed towards a distinct enemy and towards many, as you put them, distasteful individuals.
Just on a lark, if he does he have a white robe and a staff?
Not really white, but he does have a staff. Yeah. This
Okay.
picture's accurate. So kind of like an off-white, maybe with some blues and greens and browns in it.
Because the whole the bird and the robes, mm, I would be familiar with the with wizards. I mean, I would be
Sure.
familiar enough. I would recognize if
The
this
staff,
were
the staff
Saruman.
is certainly an indicator of a wizard in many texts of lore. Yeah.
Okay, so would I recognize? I probably would not have had any interaction with Saruman.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have as yeah. Certainly yeah. No, not at this age. Maybe 40 years from now you'll have some history with it.
Okay, just checking to see if I would recognize him or his station.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is who it is, but it strikes me.
Yeah.
So anyways, I would I don't think I would need I think my guard would be down just because when scholars get together, they share knowledge. That's what you
Yeah.
do. And I would say that I was on a diplomatic mission and that we were attempting to expand Gondor's influence without without the use of force, as I kind of motioned to myself, a scrawny 20-something, and say, as you can see, I wouldn't be suited for anything else.
Without the use
Uh,
of force. So, influence of Gondor without the use of force in Umbar. That's a tall ask.
you're
For
telling
anyone.
me.
Um, one might even go so far as to say it is foolish, given your history.
You're telling me. But I got drafted, and that's what brings me down here, whether I like it or not. Yeah, if on a lark, if you knew the location of any animals, food, I have kind of come back to my group every time so far empty-handed. So if you do happen to run across anything,
Ah,
please letting me know.
You see a twinkle come into his eye, and he says, I believe I might help you. You certainly seem to be the type of individual that needs my help. And you'll see him kind of shrug off his over robe or his over cloak, setting it down to the side and revealing his pack. He sets the pack down. He starts to open it and kind of rummage around in it. You catch the glint. You catch sight of several sacks, and you see the big book and the scroll, and he seems to have quite a bit of stuff in here. And as he's kind of like searching through, he looks up to you and he says, I think it's appropriate that I'm giving you a gift, young scholar. I'm not. I want to make sure that the gift you're asking for is the gift you actually want. Are you sure that a meal is your heart's desire?
I was just, I was more making conversation since I'm out here, as you noticed, hunting, quite unsuccessfully. So that's what was
Well, I think
on my mind. If you're offering anything, I would gladly lose face as a terrible hunter if you could share with me more of your knowledge. As you say, always a hunter of knowledge, and not
I
a
think
hunter very well of anything else.
I think that you need to bag some knowledge on this particular expedition, more so than you need to bag a squirrel. And he'll slide from his pack a scroll, a pretty hefty, like pretty. You think it's rolled pretty tight, but you think that there's quite a bit of length to this scroll, and you see that it is tied on with a ribbon, and it has got a wax seal pressed into it, and he hands it to you, Zachariah. Um, and as soon as you take it, you kind of look down, and when you look back up, you can see that he's already like closed the top of flap of his pack and is slinging it over his shoulder, and grabbing up his overcoat or overcloak, and he says, "With I have spent much time here, but I will remember you, and I will write about you in my book, the note of the wandering scholar in the south, um, and I will keep an eye out for you. Perhaps once my journeys to the east are complete, I will make a pass through the White City and see what you have learned, and tell you a bit more of what I've learned. Um, young scholar, I wish you the best on your travels and on your mission."
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
With that, he'll kind of look up at his hawk and he'll say, "Well, shall we?" And the hawk kind of alights and takes off, and this man kind of gives you a smile, a nod, and then he walks behind a tree and disappears completely.
Weren't you going to the east? That's the that's north. He went north.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fun. Went the wrong way. So yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll. I think I'll sit down and just open up the scroll and pretend that I could find any game.
Absolutely. So looking at this scroll as you unravel it, you can see that this particular scroll has a list of names with some details around each of these persons. A small history, if you will, a description, any titles that they might have, And go ahead and give me. Um, um, let's see here. You tell me what do you think a skill would be here to kind of discern what you have been given.
Old lore. If it's names and
Yep, that's fine.
especially if it's
I'm
families,
fine with
old
that.
lore.
Yep, I'm fine.
Sounds good. That's my good one. That in medicine I never used. All righty. That would be a
So
19.
good.
19. Absolutely. So you don't recognize these people, or at least not at the moment. But what you do realize is that these names are of Elven in Elven, which is to be fair, like Gondor, like everything in Gondor and everybody's names in Gondor are Elven, right? But what it's not is Haradrim or Corsair names or things like that, right? So it could certainly be Gondorian names or some sort of elven individuals. But what makes you feel like they are certainly not elves is the descriptions. You think that this is a list of somewhere between. You should do a quick count. Maybe there's approximately 18 individuals listed on this scroll in great detail, and you are certain that these are individuals of Numenorian descent, either Gondorian convicts or Black Numenorians who are currently residing in Umbar.
Okay. Interesting.
So this would be like this would be akin to you being given like a list of prime targets or prime people to look out for in the city for you. Um, and would probably help you on certain roles that you might make in Umbar.
A spy's dossier.
Yeah, very much in that flavor. Um, and you can spend as much time there as you'd like. And 8 hours later, you manage to find your party, probably because um, uh, 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 Crithale goes out and finds you.
I should imagine so, yeah.
But yeah,
Good.
cool. That was fun. I'm glad somebody rolled something in a cool place. So.
That was good. That was cool.
All right. Hold on to that. Because it's time to roll again. By the way, that your fatigue check at the end of this travel is going to be 11 now, but no more. So you rolled high enough that worked out. Let's go ahead and have Ulysses make us another D20 roll or a travel check to see if you can get a little bit further down this route.
Yes, and by the way, if Crithiel wants to be the travel person, I'm happy for
No,
her.
go ahead. No, you've been doing it so far. I'm just it was more of a reminder that I do have.
You were reminding us that you are special. You are actually.
Very much so.
All right. So as we finish up our rest, I look at the sky. I think about the lay of the land. I feel we're getting close to the river. I'm going to set off. I guess the goal is we're going to go. We're beginning in this square. Well, I guess you went over a little bit on the 4 squares.
That's right.
So we're going to go the 3 straight, and then we're going to cut down to the southwest to that river square or hex. All right, is the intention.
Yeah, you're kind of going this way now.
Oh my goodness. I rolled a 9, but I rolled
Natural
a 1.
Okay, cool. So that just means so the great thing about being the guide is that your failure here just means that the event happens sooner on fewer hexes. It doesn't mean that that nothing bad necessarily happens. So we're gonna go 1, 2 like that. Is that right?
We can go that way, yeah. I think that we were probably going to go straight and not down towards the river. But if you want the roll to take us that way, that's
No,
fine.
no.
It makes no
The
difference.
river is good.
Okay,
But
Don't
we're
we
also-
get better if we're in by a river?
we do. You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
And just to be clear, we're not crossing the river. We're technically
just-
going.
You're just
above it.
going straight above it. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Like,
So
But we're not. I mean, why risk a river crossing when we don't have to?
that's right.
Yes.
Okay. This one is going to be for Mr. Andrew, with his lookout, because you're the lookout, and Zach Francis, you're the scout in this
Yeah.
travel, right? So this one with a 3 is going to be the lookout here. So Mr. Lookout, I need you to, well, let's roll a d20 check here. Actually, you know what? I like you rolling, and then we'll find out what the thing is. So give me a perception check, please. 18's pretty good. 18's pretty good. All right, let's see here. Let's get you to
Ooh, sound.
well, just because I don't think that one's appropriate for where we are now. Let's do this one. That's fine. That should be fine.
What do my human eyes see?
That's right. All right, 18's pretty good. I like that. You're in open terrain, so that's going to work out for you. So let's roll a d20 now. That's a 5. Okay. So,
Okay, hold on. Before you say anything,
At least it's
I
not a
just want to
troll.
have a moment. You rolled a 5. We
Mhm.
are in a hex that is a river hex. So if we want to spend one of our 3 remaining fellowship points, we get to roll a d20 and choose whether to use ours or Zach's. And Krithiel, since you're the one in doing this, I leave it to you to decide. I just wanted you to be informed that
If
that
we
is.
don't even know what a 5 is, so why would we reroll it?
Yeah.
Oh no, you have a pretty good indication when he rolls.
it,
You
yeah,
roll a
it's
19, you're
so-
meeting a wizard and getting a scroll with a spy dossier. When you roll a 5, like 15 monsters are going to come up through quicksand and pull you down.
So the fair note is that you guys do have access to seeing this table. 5 is going to be an ill choice. That's what you're facing
How
here
many
if you keep the 5.
points do we have left?
3.
3. I'd save him for chatting with people in Umbar. I mean,
Saving it
We're-
for Umbar. Ill choice it is.
Okay. So the fatigue DC once you get to Imbar is going to go up to a 13. The nice thing is that because you didn't fail, you don't gain shadow points, which we've really gotten to avoid for the most part, which is great. Let's talk about your ill choice here. So when you reach this spot, I'm gonna put you between a rock and a hard place and actually make an ill choice an ill choice. When you reach this point, you are held up here because just as you are getting ready to follow the river and go that direction, you can see camped along the river is a large group of armed men. And based off the fact that you've interacted with several groups of men at this point, you are pretty certain that these are corsairs. A group of probably 30 to 50 corsairs camped along the river here. Your ill choice is you either will have to roll the dice and hope that you can pass through and they're not going to contest you or whatever, or you're going to have to detour around them. And this will be a Andrew decision as the lookout to make this call.
I think the answer is going to be detour. I think I have some special stuff for that. I'm just trying to remember. Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I think. I mean, we're not in a massive hurry, so I think
Yeah.
just double back and
So what I'm going to say is, just as a note, that this basically it's going to be these 2 hexes along the river right here are going to be hazardous to you. Like it's going to be as if they were black bordered. So you tell me how you want to navigate around them.
First of all, could I make some sort of check to determine whether Corsairs are have moved through the terrain where we are? So like
Yep.
because if they're going the same direction as we are, then we would see tracks.
Yeah.
Where if they're coming from the other side, then we would see nothing.
Absolutely. You can definitely do that. You can give me a explore check potentially. Or yeah, it's probably an explore check or a nature check.
Yep. Also, one cool thing about travel is if you're trying to evaluate whether a group of strangers on the road can be approached safely or if they're supposed to be left
Yes.
alone,
So travel.
that ties in it too.
Travel would be less about noticing tracks and more about reading some more about the individuals.
People, yep.
I rolled a natural 1.
Yeah, no idea where they're coming or going.
Okay.
That's the second nat 1 on this encounter.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what we'll do is go this way. Well, but then we'd have to cross because again, I know hex-wise, bottom path is better. But I'm thinking like terrain-wise, we'd have to cross the river twice if we go bottom.
Sure.
So like,
and I've got a river encounter all queued up and ready, that you do not want to do. So I think you're making a great decision.
And actually, I think if we're gonna go that way, I think there's probably no point in coming back to the river. I think we just go this way.
Okay, let's do this then. You have made an ill choice one way or the other, which is what it is. But you have made the decision, and you and your party will all have to live with it. Fantastic, Ulysses. Could you give me a travel check? And Zach, you're on deck. You're going to be making the next skill check here.
Wait, can we back up one moment?
Right.
Yeah.
Hold on. Are we committed to going to that red hex?
No, you like
no.
What you have to do right now, like you're committed to going north. How that actually sorts is fine, but Andrew has determined that you are going to go back. You're going to backpedal north and work your way back around. How exactly you do that is, up for debate.
We're committed to that, but how far, which way we go there, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, I'm going to roll my travel check.
Yep.
And I got a 13.
13. Okay. Well, that's not as good. Okay. Awesome. So with a 13,
chat must be loving this. You run
so many complications. This is like you saved all of your problems for this session. So we're gonna say, if you don't mind, erase your blue line there, Andrew. Because we're gonna go. You only get 2 hexes out of this. So you're gonna go 1, 2.
Yep.
And then Mr. Francis, Garwin is going to need to make a roll here. I need you to make an explore test as you come around the corner here.
Okay. We're on the. I don't have an explore
just
button.
you don't you well it's in your I think I put it under tools or kits underneath the skills on yours. If not, no big deal. Let's see.
It just says travel and riddle. It
Yes,
does
that's
not
right.
have
So you aren't proficient in explore then.
explore.
Yeah. So
That
go
is
ahead.
true.
So go ahead and make a travel roll and then just -2 from it.
Okay.
All right. So that's a 6. Awesome.
Good job, everybody.
Awesome. So interesting. Cool. So we're
Maybe I
gonna
get to use this awesome spear that I've been holding this whole
yeah.
time.
So we're gonna roll a d20 here and see what happens. A 9. Okay, so 9's middle of the road. You're gonna have a mishap. So your fatigue DC is now gonna go up by 1. So you're gonna be at 14 when you reach Umbar
Okay.
to check. That's gonna be the worst part of all this. But because you failed, it actually goes up by 2, so you're at 15. So Zach, the nice thing about a mishap is that it's pretty straightforward, and
Okay.
and you get to have some say in it. So a mishap
Okay.
happens as you're out scouting. This mishap is not a creature encounter.
Okay.
It is something happens to you or to the group because of your failure to adequately scout. Some sort of mishap happens that delays you. You tell me what that is.
What time of day is it?
It can be at whatever point during this travel that you would like. Let's say for the sake of things, it's getting into the evening when it happens.
No, that's perfect. What's the weather like?
It's muggy.
Muggy? Okay. Um, some sort of mishap. The thing that comes to mind is uh we're we're what kind of terrain is this exactly? You said there's sparse wooded
Sparse
areas.
forest,
Is it more
rolling.
dry or
Yeah, more dry than anything, especially since you've moved away from the river.
is it like sand dunes?
Uh, you're getting into that like scraggy brush, that sort of a thing, like more rock than sand probably at this point. But if you want to imagine that you are on the outskirts of a desert or on the edge of a desert, that's perfectly reasonable here.
Because what I imagine is the terrain isn't necessarily treacherous, but it might be a little bit harder to navigate. And what comes to mind is like a sand dune, maybe on the edge, and we're kind of, as people do, walking on the top, and I'm supposed to be walking up ahead, and it ends up. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you mess with it too much, the way that it just kind of runs, almost like water. The sand just
Yeah.
runs like water all the way down, and then so something. There's like a lizard or something, and I, just kind of jolt after it, maybe just to
Yeah.
get it out of the road, and it causes me to kind of stumble and cause that hill, that
Yep.
dune of sand to kind of start just that trickling all the way down, all the way behind me, and it kind of forces us to go the opposite side of the hill. And now we have to try to climb up this giant sand dune in the sand. It's muggy, it's hot, it's gross.
Yep.
We have to get back up and over it, and it just sets us back maybe, however many hours it takes for us to do that. Because I was trying to like lunge at a lizard or a chicken or something that was on the road or on the top of the. I imagine it was a lizard, not a chicken, but.
A cockatrice, perhaps a mixture of the two.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. Great. I think the trepidation so far is holy crap. A 15 is gonna get rough for some of you on a Constitution check saving throw. So we have some more rolls to do though. So we're gonna reset. So we'll be rolling dice to see who makes the checks from here again, and it won't necessarily go back to Brian. But Ulysses, before we do, I need a travel check from you again.
Okay, what I would like to do at this point is we haven't used distinctive features yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two distinctive features. One is patient and one is worry.
Mm-hmm.
And as you guys know, worry means feeling or showing caution about possible dangers or problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe this ties into my my Skywatcher background, which is where I think distinctive features come from. So, having had the trip go a little bit sideways from Crithiel encountering a contingent of Corsairs to this trek up a sandy dune and just really having to go out of our way of intention, whether it's the augury of the skies or whether it's just me trying to really bear down on my wariness and really focusing on evaluating danger.
Mm-hmm.
Does that allow me to roll this with advantage?
Yeah, I'll let that. Actually, you know what I'll do? I will give you a choice. Because hard choices are fun. You can either have advantage on this because of that cool thing, or if you succeed, you can have advantage on the D20 event table.
I will take, you know what? As a captain, I will look out for the better probabilities for my fellowship
Mm-hmm.
mates, and I will do advantage on the D20 outcome table for
Okay,
them.
great. Give me a travel check.
All right, so this is just a straight up travel check.
Yep. You gotta, just so folks know, 15 is the target. If you go too high over, too far lower, you get cool stuff. But we're shooting for a 15 in general. There you go.
Oh,
Nice. So, yeah, succeed. So you get 3 hexes. Ulysses, obviously anybody else can have some say in it as well, but what 3 hexes are we moving into here?
Okay, my proposal is to go 1 hex, 2 hexes, and I am not against crossing the river, but but if we're against crossing the river, then I would retract that that line. How can I erase?
Just, I can get it for you.
But why are we crossing? Like, is our goal not the city of Umbar?
Okay, so I want to go to this one.
Yep.
So those are my 3 hexes.
That's
We'll stay
2.
on the north side.
Oh, you want to go into that hex there? Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's fine. Sounds good. Okay.
All right. And well, no, we want to get to Umbar, but Andrew, I mean, well, it's actually an Andrew comment. We want to avoid that number 2.
Sure. Yep.
I
I
number 2
understand.
is a bad place.
I got you.
I understand what you're doing. Okay, cool. All right. So 3 hexes. You're in a nice, brown area still. So let's go ahead and have somebody. We'll find out who here. Somebody's gonna roll another check here. So that is gonna be Mr. Francis, right around the corner again.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
The
So
scout.
the scout's got to do 2 in a row. Let's see if you can do better here. Go ahead and give me your explore check, which will be a travel -2 if you want to.
please give me something better than last
On
time.
advantage. You got advantage. Oh no, he has advantage. No, you have advantage. Is he have advantage or do you have? You have advantage.
I'll roll with advantage on mine here. So Zach, with a
11.
11. Okay, so hold on to that. Not a great one,
No,
but
I'm sorry.
but here's the reality. If you have advantage on this roll, so we'll see if you can get something good anyways. A 3, definitely don't want that. An 8. Okay, well, Zach, I am going to take the reins here because you rolled a mishap again. I'm going to roll one more time, and you'll because I'm not going to let you have a mishap twice.
Okay,
So
sorry.
that's fine.
You know,
There you
the dice
The mishap 3 times.
4 times. You
ill
rolled
choice.
4
All right,
times.
so here we go. So, since we're not gonna have you do a mishap twice, we're gonna have you do an ill choice instead. So
Okay.
you start to cut back that way, and maybe giving you the answer to Andrew's question about where your Corsairs were coming or going before. Why not just do a repeat of that discussion again here? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, hey, this Corsair problem that you guys saw before is now right here on this hex. You can see Corsairs along the river right here. So your ill choice is going to be either continuing on in the purpose that you guys had and having to go through those Corsairs again, or you're going to have to go through some red hexes. An extra red hex, basically.
Now,
Okay.
Corsairs are from Umbar, or they're from elsewhere, and they happen to. Tell
Umbar
me
more
what they-
so, yeah, Umbar. So you guys, those are the guys that you guys fought in Harmenden. So like Corsairs who aren't willing to acknowledge that their leaders have given you safe passage, is you've already had a run-in with them.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, the plan was to go down this way and up and over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Now we have to decide
On
if we
doing.
want to deal with that
Mhm.
or if we want to just go that way.
Yep.
Okay. Red doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to run into anything. It just means that we have a higher potential to, correct?
Well, what it means specifically is that when you're in a brown territory, your checks that you just rolled, right, and you got a whatever you got, 13. On a brown, you're shooting for a 15. On a red, you're shooting for a 20. So your tests will be harder in red terrain. The only way that you can get easier than a 15 is if you are traveling on a road, specifically.
Or
What
in a
do we
green
get?
green
Or in
hex.
a green
What
square.
do we get with being with the river again?
You have the ability to re-roll by spending a fellowship point.
Okay. If we go down to the Corsairs, that is not a hex that has a river in it. So that is that. I don't want to make this decision. I think we're gonna have to. I think it would make more sense to just go along the river through the one extra red hex.
Okay.
It might because again it's just harder rolls, but not necessarily something terrible. But if we go through it, we're walking through the den of Corsairs, so it's like
That's right.
So I think that I would probably just stay as close to the river as possible.
Okay.
And go that away.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be what I would say, but I apologize ahead of time.
If the party dies, we know who to blame. That's
You
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Great choice, Zach. I like it. So the note about an ill choice is also a couple of things. I need everyone to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Is this the thing, or is this a?
This is to resist getting a shadow point.
Oh gosh. Oh look, I get a shadow point.
That's right.
It's an
I'm
8,
just
but
checking.
Why did it throw 2?
Oh, you just look at the one on the left. It's just basically saying if you have advantage, it's the one on the right. If you don't, it's the one on the left.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say okay. So I got a 13. That's not terrible.
So, yep. Cool.
We're not in the red yet. We haven't gotten there.
So, So if you succeed, you will only take 1 shadow point, and if you fail, you will take 2, and your target number was 15. So you'll either take 1 or 2 shadow points there. Yep.
Okay.
And because I think this is the first time we're doing shadow points in the game, can you just tell for the listeners and for us what happens with shadow points?
Yep. So if your player hero's shadow score matches or exceeds half your wisdom score rounded up, you become miserable, which is a new condition, which decreases your fellowship rating by 1, which would not be fun for you guys because you would lose a fellowship point. In addition, a miserable character's d20 roll is a 1 or 2, then the roll is a failure. So basically, you crit fail on a 1 or a 2, regardless of what type of check you're making.
Now, is it our wisdom modifier or our wisdom score?
Um,
I imagine it's our wisdom modifier.
no, it's the wisdom score rounded up.
Okay, so 14. So basically, if my shadow points hit 7 or
That's
more,
right. That's right.
okay.
You're miserable. So you guys aren't in any
And-
real danger of that because you've been rolling really well. But just as a note, if you get to
And
half your wisdom,
what causes what is this? Can you describe
Yes.
in this what causes the shadow?
absolutely. In fact, I know exactly what causes the shadow here. Zach, as you make this choice, you take them along the river, and we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, but I think it's worth it for the moment. As you're moving along the river here, you look up and you see a site, a artifact.
Oh.
Now you don't see the city around it, but on this
Just
hill,
see.
as you're like now within a couple of days from Umbar, you look up on top of this hill and you see this weather-beaten, scarred, crumbling ruin of a pillar, massive pillar that may have once been white, but is certainly no longer that way.
Yeah.
Very clearly in your mind, this is that white pillar of Ar-Pharazôn that in a time gone by 1,000 years ago would have been gleaming white with a crystal cap that would have caught starlight and sunlight. And now it is this reminder of the ruin that this place has fallen into, and the amount of truly the shadow that has encroached upon these lands.
And this triggers for each of us. Our shadow path is related to our calling, our class.
Yep.
For captains, that's the lore of power. And I could see how, for someone like Silmarian to see this ruined tower would stir up a lot of embittered feelings and, kind of start tilting that balance of her leadership towards darker sides.
Absolutely.
I failed. I failed, so I get my 2 shadow points, and I know exactly why. If this is the leaning toward shadow, toward evil, toward clouded, I think it'll show up later. But I know exactly why my character is seeing this and getting shadow points.
So, I would like for us to do this. I think one more round of travel, and we'll get to Umbar, and that would be a great place for us to end tonight's session. Is with you guys reaching the gates of Umbar. So, let's have Ulysses. Let's have you roll your hopefully last travel check. As long as you don't fail abysmally, you should be able to make it. There you go.
18.
Great. So that is
well,
exactly 3. Yeah.
okay. So now, because we started in a yellow square, a brown square, I made the DC, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, the DC there is fine for you. It will mean because you're entering a red square here, or you're passing through, that when they make their test is going to be at the higher difficulty. But you're great. You made the DC. No problem. Um, okay. So with the river to guide you, Cruthale is able to just kind of steer along the river, pushing forward past the pillar that rises to the north now above you, and you catch sight of the city. Um, just as you're getting close, we're gonna see if it's gonna be Brian or Andrew here. Um, that is Andrew. So Cruthale, I need you to make well, makes sense, I guess, a lookout roll here as you get so close to the city. This is
And
at
this was Explorer, I
this
think.
this is a perception with a DC 20.
The times. Um,
Whoa! Hey, look at that!
Oh yeah.
Good job!
Feel the power.
Wow, awesome. So wonderful. So you're gonna make it to Umbar. You're gonna succeed on that. So let's roll a check here to see what type of event you have here at the end. 15. That's also
hey,
good.
it's a good event.
So first off, because this isn't really tied to you. It happens every time you have a journey event, but your DC increases on your fatigue roll to 18. But you find a shortcut here at the end. So you are able to bypass like any patrols, anything like that. You stumble across the remnants of a road, and you just push hard to make it to the city. For that, I'm going to give you, Andrew, inspiration for that, because the shortcut typically cuts your journey short by a day, but because you're right there, I'll give you inspiration instead. Let's show you what you see as you come out here. Here is the city of the Corsairs.
Ooh, pretty.
It is as you kind of glimpse at it, like traces of Gondor, traces of Numenor you can still see here and there. But this is a city that was devastated by numerous sieges and battles 1,000 years ago and has rebuilt since then. So you see a lot more Abrakan, Haradrim influences in the city at this point. So kind
Is
of
this
a
completely made up image, or is this based on Byzantium, Constantinople / Istanbul?
I don't know. To
But
be
it's
fair,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, can can I make a role playing note as
Mhm.
we see the city and as we're going?
Yeah.
When we get when Crithiel leads us deftly, stealthily through to avoid patrols, and now we're at whatever first rise in our path allows us to see the city. It's time to unfurl banners,
Hmm.
and so and on the top of my flagstaff, I'm going to have the flag of Gondor, but
Mhm.
below it, I'm going to have the banner of Abrakan.
Mhm.
Or do you guys want to each take a different banner? Or do you think it
I'll
all
let
looks good
you.
on one?
I think all on one would be good. I don't. I think
Yeah.
otherwise
They
it
get-
could come across that we have an emissary of Abrakan, an emissary of Gondor, and an emissary
Yep.
of.
And so we'll put do we put so what should the order from top to bottom be?
Gondor, Abrakan, and
Harmondon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the symbolism of having them all on the same
Rod.
whole, yeah, is very indicative that it's not three separate things coming together. It's we are working together as one. So to me, that makes the most sense.
Excellent. Okay, that's what we'll do. And Zach, I have in my notes, Lord Dusad is the leader of Selentir, right? Who is the
Yes.
leader of Umbar?
So the leader of Umbar is an individual that when they take on the role, they kind of like disassociate their name and they take on the role instead, right? Like it's not like King Bob, it's just King in that sense, right? But the role title is Captain of the Haven. Is what you know as your the person that you're heading there. Captain of the Haven. Kind of like in Lord of the Rings, the Masked Lord of Waterdeep, right? Or the Masked Lords.
In
Yep.
Forgotten Realms.
Forgotten Realms. Sorry. Yeah. What did I say?
You said kind of like in Lord of the Rings.
No. Oh yeah. Yeah. No. Forgotten Realms. Masked Lords of Waterdeep. Yeah. So you unfurl these banners, and as you do so, let me show you where you're marching into here. And we will end our session pretty quick here, but I want to show you guys this because it's cool. It's a great image.
Zach, am I the only
that's
one
cool.
who has inspiration at this point?
Probably, unless somebody's had one for a while.
What I would like to do before we make our fatigue rolls is I would like to give my inspiration to Silmarion.
Okay.
And I'll do that by like as we approach, I'll take extra time to like get her horse extra pretty, set up the banners straighter, just because she's gonna have to do the talking and she's gotta look good.
Absolutely.
And be looking tired when you're riding into her.
So, as you're approaching this Elephantine gate, I need you all, yes, this is the very end here. I need you all to make Constitution saving throws, please. DC.
What's the DC?
DC is 18.
Constitution saving throws.
Andrew, do you want me to use that inspiration on this con roll or just? Okay.
The intention was for
Oof.
that. But
Thank you.
I did bad.
Brian,
I can talk. We'll just do the talking.
Yeah.
And if he's too tired, I'll talk. If she's too tired, I'll talk.
Oof. Hey, there you go.
I do have advantage on mine, so mine is 13. I know it still fails, but it doesn't
Yeah.
fail like hardcore.
I want advantage, so I can get the 19.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say, because we can all agree that the rules for fatigue in D&D are less than desirable for exhaustion. So I'm going to propose that we use the new proposed exhaustion rules for D&D, which means that if you failed your check here, all attack rolls and ability checks, so basically all D20 rolls, are at a -1 for you. You have 1 level of exhaustion, so you're at a -1 to all checks.
Okay.
As opposed to the nonsense of disadvantage on everything. So, -1s all around. No, just to Zach Francis and Andrew. But Brian and Ulysses have managed to stay healthy throughout this trip.
Retired from.
Yeah, you've had a lot of problems over as a
Oh,
scout.
yeah.
Yeah, I fell down. I got chased by a troll. I fell down a sand dune. Look, I'm exhausted here. Okay.
I just really appreciated Crithiel making sure that I was looking top notch and was was powered up.
Hey, I'm not doing any of the fucking talking.
As we walked into this, described, we looked up and we saw the city, and I have to point out my least favorite part of Lord of the Rings, the movies, and it comes from my favorite movie, which is The Two Towers, in which the people are going to Helm's Deep, and they descend a hill, and the ones that are at the bottom of the hill look up and say, "Look, it's Helm's Deep. Oh, Helm's Deep." At the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
When they're down there, they see it, not up here on the hill. They get all the way to Snake down to the bottom, and then they say, "Look, Helm's Deep." It annoys the crap out of me every single time I watch that movie.
There was like a
Don't think
low-
about it. Don't think
It
about
was a really tall hill with a little bit of fog at the top.
Yeah, that's you could see all the fog that was there.
To be fair, in real life, unless you're at the top of the mountain, Mount Sunday, where they filmed it, Helm's Deep was actually filmed behind that mountain. So unless you'd have to go down and look around the mountain in order to see it again, because if you're halfway up in between the mountain, you wouldn't be able to see it at all.
Well, you're bringing up fairness. So you're saying that if you went down to the bottom of the mountain where they filmed them saying, "Look, it's Helm's Deep," they could see Helm's Deep?
I'm saying that potentially,
Zip it.
in order to see Helm's Deep behind where Edoras is, if you were walking down from the top of the buildings to the bottom, you'd actually be able to see it more towards the bottom because you'd be walking around that curve and you'd be able to see behind Mount Sunday where Helm's Deep was actually filmed. But that's just if it was.
And this is me miming you digging yourself into a hole.
I'm
but
just
also
saying.
Me miming you throwing more bullshit
I like
into the.
I like that. I like that there is an intentionality to discovering an answer, or to finding an answer. So
An answer.
we're gonna end with you guys outside the gates here, because I think that you're gonna meet some interesting people hopefully in the next session. We are relatively close to wrapping up this campaign. Really, this is a campaign that was about the journey, and then obviously you having to do very difficult things once you get here. So I think I told you guys before that we're probably like 2 or 3 more sessions after this one is gonna probably be where we are for this this situation. But this has been really good, and I enjoyed that we had an actual challenging journey in this last phase that made you make some hard choices. So that's really great. And Brian got to meet Alatar, the Blue Wizard. So
I was
Hey,
going to say, when you described the robes, I'm like, and the East, I was like, I think that's a Blue Wizard. And your whole thing about I'm interested in the humans you don't hear about.
yeah.
And what Andrew Bashinsky may not know is when we played a couple years ago, Autumno
we
Awakens,
saved them.
we found him and the other Blue Wizard in
Holondo.
a Morgothian jail cell and freed them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's and so I'll say, like, one of the things that I do, there's things that about this system that are I'll probably change if I run it again. But one of the things that I really do like is that because I know what is possible on the journey tables, and I thought about it ahead of time, I built in like a few different types of people you could meet depending on where you were and who did the meeting, and a few different nameless creatures. Like, it was fun to kind of have those things ready, knowing that if you guys don't ever roll an 18/19 on that journey table, you'll never meet any of those people. But it's always there as a possibility. Anyhow, it's just kind of a fun thing that these are a possibility, and it's not anybody's decision except the dice if we hit upon one. So I'm glad we did. That was cool. Any questions or thoughts from you guys before we close down the stream for tonight? Nope. Cool. Awesome.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks, chat. I appreciate. I saw that. I mean, we have quite a few people that are hanging out. I don't know that we need to call out every single one of them, but I will commend the people who were who made comments. So Girk and Craig and Mike, appreciate you all hanging out in here, and everybody else that took the time out of their evening. We're gonna try to be back in a couple weeks, so we'll see if that works out or not. But if not, we're gonna be back in Middle Earth certainly before too long. Thanks a lot, and have a fantastic.
Cool beans.
Sounds good. And I'm available in 2 weeks.